Welcome to this Tennessee Thunder podcast on this Tuesday evening, March the 12th. We greatly appreciate you joining us tonight. Remember, like, share, comment. We appreciate you very much for joining us here tonight. You had lots of other things you could have done, but you're right here watching this podcast, and we greatly appreciate it. And like I said, remember, like, share, comment. We'll be more than happy to get to your questions and comments as quickly as we possibly can. So just type them up there. Also, remember to like us on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble. I think that's it. I don't know. We might have more.
YouTube, Rumble, and Facebook.
YouTube, Rumble, and Facebook. That's what I said.
Just want to make sure they heard it. Be sure to like and share. That helps the algorithm, helps other folks find us and tune in. As you know, we've been suppressed on Facebook, so be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page as well as our Rumble pages.
Absolutely. Also, remember, the next county commission meeting will be March the 25th. So plan on being there. We hope to see a lot. Whoop, let me turn that down there. That's a little delayed. But yeah, we look forward to seeing a lot of folks start going to these county commission meetings. We need you down there. We need your presence. We just need some butts in seats. We need our county to know that we mean business down there. We don't want to have to put up no nonsense. Oh, nonsense? What's that? County government? Surely not. But that's March the 25th. I looked for the other dates for the other meetings, but it's not posted, so I don't know where it's at. And I even looked at the meeting notes from last county commission meeting, and mysteriously, it's not in that packet either. So.
You know, it could be like under the cushions, you know, those cushions that swallow up all of the stuff and then you find it like 2 years later.
Right. Well, it could be, but you see, it's in an email because last county commission meeting, for a couple of days before the county commission meeting, I called the mayor's office and I said, hey, I'm going to send a open records request for the packet that the county commissioners get, which is an open record. Anybody could ask for it anytime. And so I submitted it. I emailed it, and I called and said, hey, I emailed this, and I can come pick it up, or you can email it back to me, whatever's easier. And they emailed it to me. So that's why I looked at, but it's not in there. So I'm wondering if there's other things missing in that packet.
Just never can tell. Probably need to ask for that whole package again.
Well, I plan on doing it every county commission meeting, so they better get used to it. And if it wasn't so many pages, I'd print it off and bring it with me. But this one was 70 pages long, and like I said, that the meetings weren't in there, so I know at least that page was missing. So it just makes me curious, was there anything else missing? Hello, Miss Barbara. Good to see you this evening. Hope you're doing well. And once again, I'll say so sorry for your loss, your family member there. And also remember, Commissioner Cook, Danny Cook, had surgery, and he's still recovering, and he has some good days. He has some bad days. So I talked to some of his folks earlier, and like I said, he has some good days. Today was apparently kind of a bad day. So remember him in your prayers and all that kind of good thing, and we greatly appreciate it.
Speaking of open records, I have been in communication with basically it's an educator of educational freedom group that's over in another part of our state. They actually reached out to us and said, hey, do y'all need some help getting a hold of public records in your school system? And I said, oh, I'm glad you called. Some of the things that we discussed, and I shared with her about us having someone that we endorsed on the school system, on the school board. And I said she looked into some of the school books that were in question about, sorry about that. That was my phone. I need to silence that. Um, and I said, I don't know how far we got with that, but she actually has given us a whole bunch of requests that all we have to do is just file it with the school system, and they have to give these to us. And it's a lot of the stuff that they need to see so that they'll know how to proceed from there. And I forgot to share that with you in person, Jason. Sorry about that, but
Shame
when you're
on you. And speaking of the school book stuff, we had a thing and you were supposed to post it, and I'll never know if you did. But Knox County
okay.
found a bunch of library books, not so good, appropriate ones. And that got posted out. I think it was posted out by the Moms for Liberty or what have you in Knox County. And it wouldn't let me share it, and you said you were going to, and I don't know that you ever did. So shame on you.
It probably wound up in the cushions and the couch, just like sorry about that. Yeah, and we have posted some legislation. We're going to be posting weekly legislation that everyone needs to really watch and follow relative to you contacting your state reps and your state senators. This is at the state level, of course, and this is legislation from everything from what you do for a living to some laws that are actually on their way to being signed. And so we need to always, I think we had the digital currency this week was up for a vote in one of the committees, and we definitely need to try to defeat that. That is not leading us in the right direction and leading us toward even more tyranny than what we have been experiencing over the last few years. So we definitely need to keep our eyes on the state legislature. And someone actually recommended that the state legislature extend in odd years. And I believe this is the years that there's no one running for election, because the state reps run every 2 years. And they actually said we would like for the years that we are not campaigning to have longer. And the feedback was, God help us, we don't need you all in there any more than we've got you already.
Right. We got a question here. Mr. Farmer says, what county are you in? Is there any information about White County? We are based in Union County. We cover a lot of Union County, but we also, being the Tennessee Freedom Coalition, we also have the Union County Freedom Coalition. But being the Tennessee Freedom Coalition, we do like to expand when we can. We need help with that in other counties. We're looking into Claiborne County, is my understanding. We're trying to get some folks set up there. But Mr. Farmer, we don't necessarily
wait.
have anything. I don't from White County. Stephanie might, but if you're interested in helping us out, we'd be more than happy to talk with you. So go ahead, Stephanie.
Mr. Farmer, you are in luck today. We actually are a member of a larger group that's statewide. There's about probably 9 or 10 counties right now involved in that group, and they have fingers all over the state, and they are looking for people in new counties. Now, my understanding, White County is in the upper Northeast Tennessee, I believe. We are definitely looking for groups in all these counties so that we can all come together at some point in an organized fashion. There's a lot of little groups like ours that are meeting, and I hate to say it, not necessarily in secret, but people that are maybe not as public with it as Jason and I, they are having meetings across the state. So if you will send me your information, Mr. Farmer, I will get you to the right people. There is, I believe, a chapter starting in your area. So I will definitely get your information. I'm going to type it, my email in the comments below. It's penforjustice@gmail.com. And if you will send me your information to that address, I will make sure that the person in your area gets your information so they can contact you.
Sounds good. Also, like I said, if you want to be part of just the Tennessee Freedom Coalition, we'd be more than happy to
Yep.
talk to
Yeah.
you about that and getting a chapter of the Tennessee Freedom Coalition started in your area as well. It's not hard. It's just basically just the bare bones of it is going to these county commission, school board, all these kinds of meetings, and taking note what's going on and finding a cause and fighting for it, and that kind of thing. We are a conservative group here, and that kind of thing. We kind of like to White County's in Middle Tennessee, sis.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay.
we are looking to expand across the state, so we'd be more than happy to help you. Just get in touch with us.
Another thing, Mr. Farmer, is if you do not have a constitutional conservative Republican Party in your county, most counties just have the regular Republican Party, which is fine, but a lot of people are forming their own constitutional Republican parties because there are differences in the establishment party and the Constitutional Republican Party. So there is also another resource there for you. We have the Union County Constitutional Republicans here in our area as well. But the purpose of having the Constitutional Republican Party is so that you can actively either run for office yourself or find other people in your area willing to run for county commission and school board seats. Those are the most pivotal and the most important of anything. And of course the sheriff, but there's certain qualifications there. But as far as governing bodies, the school system and the county commissions are very important that we find qualified, vetted Republican candidates that believe in the Constitution and practice the Constitution in their everyday lives. And we're going to be vetting in our upcoming elections through our own Union County Republican Constitutional Republican Party. And so when you get things going up there in White County, or I should say over in White County, since you're west of us, I would recommend that you get with Kurt Riley. He is over in the Nashville area. I'm going to type
Kurt Riley's in Sumner County. I just looked. Sumner County is Sumner County is 5 hours away from White County.
Yeah, Kurt Riley is a great resource. He would love to talk with you guys as well, so you guys can get your and he's over the Tennessee Constitutional Republican Party as well as his own county, Sumner County Constitutional Republicans. And he can show you all you need in order to get your chapter started in your county.
Best I can tell, White County's close to Cleveland, Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
Best I can tell, anyway.
That's southeast of here, I think.
It's south-ish. Yes. Anyways, we'll be more than happy. Bottom line, we're more than happy to help you any way we can. Just reach out to us, and we do these podcasts every other Tuesday and sometimes in between.
Yeah, networking is what we're all about. And so if you are in another county and you tune into us, because we've got a feed going now on not only Facebook, but YouTube and Rumble. Even if you're in another state, reach out to us because we're all patriots here. In this corner, we're working around the clock to promote freedom, no matter where you are in our great country. So I'm going to post my number on here also, And that way, if you want to text me, I'll get you all the information with the phone numbers and the emails.
All right. And on a side note, other than that, on a side note, you'll be noticed for somebody makes a comment that I'm not drinking Dr. Pepper. Okay. I do have my RC Cola here, and I have an A&W root beer for when things really get hot and heavy. I got my root beer.
You can't get away with this. You got to have your moon pie. I mean, that's a requirement. You better
I don't have any moon pies.
Get that freaking moon pie.
Let me tell you why I don't have Dr. Pepper. Okay, I'm a poor man, right? And I work for a living and that kind of thing. And it just so happens that Coke products, Pepsi products right now are like, for a 24 pack, they're $14 a 24 pack. And like I said, I'm a poor man. And so a 24 pack of RC products are regular price $6.99. And I'm not plugging any particular company because nobody pays me. I don't get paid a dime for doing these podcasts and everything else I do for the coalition, as opposed to popular belief, apparently. But so
I was going to ask, do I need to start playing the bluegrass music?
You might. I don't care. I like bluegrass. But anyways, so these were on sale. 24 pack were on sale Friday and Saturday at Food City for $5 a 24 pack, and I could not pass those up. And under current circumstances, I can't afford Dr. Pepper anymore. So you're going to see more of this kind of stuff from me drinking. And if that keeps going on, it's just going to end up being water. Good thing there's a spring down the road. I just go get fresh spring water, and we'll just suffer through, because the economy is going down the tubes faster than we can even try to get a paycheck. So,
or another tax increase.
Well, that's coming too. So,
Well, we're going to talk about that.
So what are we starting with tonight?
Well, since you mentioned it, and I'm just going to touch on it, in our counties, we seem to think that we have a revolving door of taxation. I've been talking with people online all weekend about spending tax politicians and the differences in wheel taxes and property taxes, and why property taxes it's better to raise wheel taxes than property taxes. We have grown so compliant, and we are so conditioned to think that we have to choose when a politician raises up with their shiny new toy and their shiny object, and they're holding it here and saying, we need this and we need this. I don't know if you can see my hands. But when they do that, we think we have to choose. It's like, well, if we don't raise your property taxes, we're going to have to raise your wheel taxes. If we don't raise your wheel taxes, or if you get behind a wheel tax, which is the most fair tax according to their spin doctors, then we have to raise your property tax. So what they do, they pit property owners against people out here that don't own property. Okay. And we've talked about all the spin of how they try to pull it off and promote that, people that don't own property don't pay property taxes. We know that's a lie. We know that's not true, because of landlords have to raise their rents to offset taxes. And so why is it, Jason, that we have, if anyone ever watched, I think it was called Let's Make a Deal. I'm telling my age now. Let's Make a Deal when I was a kid.
It's still on. Don't say it's done yet. It's still on.
It's the one where you have curtain number 1, curtain number 2. Is that Let's Make a Deal? Yep. Curtain number 1, curtain number 2, curtain number 3. Okay. And our county commissions have conditioned us into thinking we have curtain number 1 and curtain number 2. And you've got...
Now we got curtain number 3, because now we got fees.
Oh, and fees. That's right. So we have 3 curtains. And we, of course, this is all done all of a sudden because a lot of people don't go to the commission meetings. They don't watch So they don't see things coming. They don't see the train coming at midnight. And all of a sudden, before you know it, you're waking up to the newspaper saying they're going to raise your taxes. And guess what you're going to buy this year? You're going to buy a new school, or you're going to buy a new jail, or you're going to
watch. Or you get to watch a podcast where we're screaming, hey, taxes are coming, taxes are coming. Y'all need to get down there. Y'all need to be prepared. And all we get called is a bunch of liars. We're telling a bunch of lies. We're making stuff up. And then a couple months later, guess what? You get the bill in the mail and here you come. Oh, why didn't anybody tell us about this? Nobody told us. We told you so.
The point is, it's like a citizen in Claiborne County who was talking about the wheel tax. And of course, they just the citizens crushed it. I was like, yes. So this man gets on there and he says, well, you must not be for the farmers because you all wanted the wheel tax to be pushed away. And you were against it. So you must be, for eating bugs and going into Bill Gates' non-meat products and all that craziness. Okay. And I said, well, for one, why do you think that you have to pick? Isn't it funny that people actually think that they have to comply and pick what is behind curtain number 1 or curtain number 2, or like you said, curtain number 3, fees. Okay. Isn't it just ironic how we as the people in a free nation have been so conditioned that we think we have to pick one or the other when we don't have to pick any of them? And you may say, well, what is your recourse? What are you saying, Stephanie? Are you saying that we're going to take our torches and pitchforks to the courthouse? No, that's not what I'm saying. What we're saying here, folks, is that you have to push back legally as an activist. You have to, not us. It's not just up to Jason and I and a few people. You as a citizen have to do what all great citizens has done since our country began. And when there is unfair taxation, that's how we got the revolution, folks. The people push back until they said no more. Because listen, it's in the math. We've got 20,000 people in our little small county. Okay. And out of that 20,000, we probably got probably 7, 8, 10,000 at the most taxpayers, because the rest are kids and such. And it's always that way in the balancing act. You've only got so many people that can pay these taxes, but you've got politicians that act like we're got 1 million people in our county that they can just decide to use you like a blank check. And so this gentleman, okay, to make a long story a little bit longer, he finally, I think, saw what I was saying. He said, well, I just don't think we should be pushing our farmers, down. They're going to lose their properties and stuff. And I guess he just never thought about fighting back taxation. But you have to fight on all taxation, property taxes. Listen, folks, did you notice how they pitted us against each other during this last tax round? They pitted the property owners against the wheel tax people, the common guy out here that may not own property, may live in a trailer, a small rental house, but they pitted us to get against each other. You notice how they conquer and divide you. Always pay attention to those little things like that, because that's how they win. And you have to realize and recognize what they're doing it before they even do it. So the next time, and I'm hoping that everybody's political IQ has went up just a little bit, including ours, okay? Because we got caught off guard on a few of these things, like we couldn't have an election unless it cost $40,000. That was a bunch of bull crap. Okay, so I hope that we are smarter this time, folks. And when they start telling you you have to pick between wheel taxes and property taxes, it's going to be either or. You're going to say what? What are you going to say, Jason? Heck to the...
You don't want me to say what I say on here. No. Well, here's a couple things, okay? Number one, when we did the petition, when the will tax stuff came out, we did the petition. All our petition was asking for was for us to be able to vote on it, just like Claiborne County just did. They had it put on a ballot and they voted for it. And of course, it failed. It failed miserably, apparently, because in
Yes.
my understanding, it was like 4,000 or 5,000 votes to like 400 or something like that.
Yep.
So yeah, that's my opinion. That is why they said that our petition was no good, because they didn't want it to go to a ballot, because they knew that we would vote it down just like Claiborne County did. So they didn't even give us the opportunity, because we weren't smart enough, or we weren't peasanty enough to actually get out there and bow down to what they wanted. So instead, they just squashed our petition and said, no, we're not going to even entertain the idea, and that kind of thing. So that's number one. Number two, going by numbers, this is one of the biggest problems everywhere, not just Union County, but everywhere. This is an issue. But I'm going to pick on Union County because it's where we're at, okay?
Home base.
Voting. People do not vote. And you think, well, my vote don't count. And you think, well, it doesn't matter. And, it's rigged anyway. I don't care if you despise somebody that's on a ballot. Your vote counts. Whether you like Trump, whether you like Biden, if you don't vote, number one, you don't have a reason to complain. Number two, you're electing the opposite person who you would have voted for because you didn't vote. That's the way I look at it. So here in Union County, in this last election, just a week or so ago, we had 11,676 registered voters here in Union County. And out of those 11,676 registered voters, only 1,885 of us voted. I say us voted because I did vote. And that's 16.14% of the entire county of registered voters voted. That is a big issue. And so these folks voted. Well, even the less percent actually pays attention to local politics. And even a less percent of that actually goes to the meetings and actually makes their voices heard. And so it's just a snowball effect. And it gives our power, we the people's power, it gives that directly to the county government, or the state government, or the federal government, whichever way you want to look at it. And I've seen a lot of comments lately talking about, well, we elect these people and they're supposed to choose for us and blah, blah, blah. That's a bunch of malarkey. Because we elect them to represent us, yes. What we don't do is we don't give them a blank check to write whatever they want with our taxes. Number two, we don't give them the free reign to say, okay, well, I'm going to do what I want and to hell with what our citizens want, right? Their job as an elected official is to represent us. And by representing us, they should be out here meeting with us. They should be talking to us. Just because it's not election season doesn't mean that they shouldn't be going out knocking on doors, asking questions, right? They should be going to these community meetings. They should be going to these neighborhood watch meetings. They should be doing these things, getting the input of their constituents. That way they knew the best way to go about their vote. But they don't, because we've been conditioned to sit down and shut up and do what they want. And that's not how it's supposed to work. That's not how our founding fathers set it up to work. And we need to get back to doing some things the right way, because we're going in the wrong direction. And I don't know if that even applied to your topic there you were talking about, but it's what God laid on my heart. So there you go.
You hit it right on the head, Jason. Now, one of the things I've noticed with these county commission meetings and the school board is when you go to a meeting, and there's a cat behind me, I know, actually riding with George Washington across the Potomac. That's kind of a scene. Wow. So one of the things I've noticed with county commission meetings and school board meetings is there's always the same group of people that show up. Okay. Almost always. Now I'm just talking about at a regular meeting where there's nothing really, there's always something special going on. I don't mean to sound like there's meetings that are nothing's going on, but when you walk into just a regular county commission where there's nobody, there's no controversial thing coming up like taxes or something, it's always the same group of people or groups of people. And you know who they are, Jason? The people that go to these meetings when you guys are not there, when you guys are not warming your bottoms on those seats in county commission, you know who's there to speak in your stead? The school system, teachers, government employees. These are the lobbyists. They're also citizens, but let's face it, folks, these are the ones that have the county commission's ear. These are the people they're listening to, because guess what? They have something to lose when they don't go to the meetings. They are there because, for one, it's job security because they're employed by the government. Okay. Number two, there may be some things that they're trying to get through, like some sort of new addition to a building or some sort of new curriculum. It could be anything. I mean, I don't think they would do that with county commission, but let's say it's school board. There's always a reason that these folks are at these meetings. And we've been talking about this now, Jason, for 2 years, that's why we say to you, you guys need to get to the meetings. And I know a lot of you have went, and I am so happy that some of you guys are paying attention and putting your schedules, I know you all are busy and I know that you have to rearrange things, but having you there, that is in their ear. When they see a citizen come in there that they don't recognize, you know what they're thinking? Oh gosh, who is that? What are they doing here? What are they trying to do? Who sent them? There's because they're used to seeing the same group of lobbyists, and that's what they are. And so when you go, you're lobbying for the people. You're lobbying for we the people and our voices so they can be heard. Otherwise, you know why they vote for all these shiny objects? Because frankly and honestly, they never see you. Not like they do the teachers, not like they do the government employees, not like they do all the other people that follow them. They have a base too that support them. Okay. And I'm not saying that we should not support our elected officials when they do a good job. We should let them know they're doing a good job. It should not just be negative, negative, negative. When they do something good, you need to recognize it. And we have on our podcast and we have in public recognized efforts made by our elected officials. And especially with the ones who have stood by the people with this taxation, who did not go along with the crowd and the lobbyists and the special interest. We have, said, hey, we appreciate your efforts and what you did. And here's some ideas for the future when this happens, especially with wheel taxes, because, well, that's another topic, but you should never have a wheel tax without bringing it to a referendum. Claiborne County has taught us a lesson. All of their people proves that went to the ballot box and thought it important enough to vote against that wheel tax shows you where the people are. What say you, Jason?
Here's proof that showing up to your meetings work. And we go back, and we do this all the time, but we go back to the constable situation, and they had to vote 2 consecutive times to abolish the constables. We know that. We've talked about it 100 million times. So what happened on that second vote that they tried to have? They were saying, it's coming, we're going to vote for it, blah blah blah, and it was put on the agenda. And what did we do? We stood up. We got a group of folks together, and we had a big protest outside with all of our signs and everything. Well, what happened? And they've tried to squash it and make it not appear as it was, and that kind of thing, because they didn't want to give us credit, because we were fairly new in the game at the time, and they thought we were 5 or 6 of us, and all that kind of stuff. We got all the negative publicity and all the things that came with it. But what happened? So we had our protest, and we had the county commissioners. A lot of them had to walk through us. We were calm, we were polite and everything, but they had to walk through us, and they had to actually look at us eye to eye, and they actually had to read our signs, and they had to come to terms with what was going on, right? Because they understood that there was a group of citizens that was not happy about what they were trying to do. And by the group of citizens that were there, that told them that there was a larger group of citizens that would feel the same way. And so that's why we try to get as many of you all to come to county commission meetings and school board and all the other meetings as possible. Because if you get a small group, that gives them an idea of how the larger group is going to react. And so when there's just 1 or 2 of us, they're like, it don't matter, it's just a few. You get 5 or 6 of us, 8 or 10, in all reality, 20, 30 is what we actually had. Folks show up, they got to step back, right? And you might say, well, 20, 30 is not very big. Well, in a county as small as Union County is, of 20,000 people, and a lot of those are kids and such, and 20 and 30, 40 and 50 folks showing up at these county commission meetings makes their pucker a little bit, right? And so when we had that protest, they knew that they done stepped in it. And so what did they do? They had the CYA, right? And so, we weren't even going to vote on that tonight anyway. And they just act like it did not happen, even though it was on the agenda. I had it. We had the copy of the agenda. It was on the agenda, the whole 9 yards. But what they say? We weren't even going to talk about that tonight. We weren't going to vote on it tonight. It was all to cover their heinies and make them not look so good or look so bad, and try to make themselves look a little better, even though we knew what the facts were. We knew what we were there. We did our job, and mission accomplished. And we saved the constables that night. And so it just goes to prove that we need folks to show up. And I understand Mr. Brooks there. Yeah, he lives over in the Speedwell community and that kind of thing, and he's got to go all the way around to get there. I understand that. And different situations happen. Sometimes, you might be, stuck in your house and you can't do those kind of things. Medical issues, I get that. But just not showing up, period, just because you're watching Wheel of Fortune or whatever, that don't fly.
Well, we're all busy. We all have lives. We all have struggles. We all have things in our families that we have to do. Listen, freedom is not free, folks. And, it took a lot of sacrifice just to get us through the first 250 years of this country. It took and it kept taking sacrifice with all the wars and the things that has happened to us through history, and all the times that people stood up in the tyranny and fought back. And it's the simple things. It's not we're not saying that you have to have, we laugh about it, torches and pitchforks to make a difference. But what we recommend is simply contacting your county commission. If you are stuck at home, you can pick up the phone, folks. You can do an email. You can call all the county, not just your county commissioner, but all the county commission. When there's something that you are not happy with, such as a tax increase, a proposed tax increase, you want to definitely get it before it happens. If you see that they're campaigning to build something or present some sort of new shiny object, you need to get on the phone right then and talk about it on social media too, because that does get their attention. And Mr. Brooks, you brought up a great point. Mr. Brooks, you are wise in your years when you said, if people could live, I think you said, the county should have to live like I do on the necessities of life instead of the things that they want. And you are so right. We have talked about this till we're blue in the face, is that these county governments, no matter which county you live in, when they get their politicians and bureaucrats together and their special interest, we are nothing but a blank checkbook to them. They do not understand about living within, we used to call it living within your means. Okay. And, when you are looking like we were this past year, where we knew this was going to be a recession, we knew we were getting ready to have total unraveling of our financial system. We knew there was going to be great challenges ahead for our people, and people losing money left and right, businesses going out, all kinds of stuff like that, where we're just crashing and burning. But yet these bureaucrats, they didn't care. They wanted their building. They wanted their bond. They wanted a bond is a loan. They wanted to spend, because if they didn't get it now, it was going to go up. And that's how they
still haven't got.
Yeah, they still haven't. They have not. And, I'm very concerned about that. We'll get into that another time. But, I'm just praying that we don't have a bunch of unfinished businesses here, because the county basically just didn't know what they were doing. I'm really concerned about those bonds. And, this is another example of how things can get into a downhill spiral when people don't know what they're doing, and they're not looking at the economy and the things that are coming down the pike. But going back to the original point, and then I'll give it back to you, Jason, is that, guys, those you need to get involved, whether it's on the phone, email, or being there. The being there is the strongest. That's where you come to the county commission from a position of strength. You don't even have to get up and speak. I'd love for you to get up and speak. That'd be great. But just you showing up and warming those seats and talking among yourselves, and maybe talking with your county commissioner after the meeting if it's something that's concerning you, that is so powerful. You just have no idea how powerful you are.
Absolutely. And one of the other things, if you do start emailing your county commissioners, and you can email all of them if you so choose, you don't have to just email, the one that is in your district, because all of them represent the entire county. Just because they were voted in a district doesn't mean, that they don't represent the rest of us. If you email them and you get some not so nice email back from them, which has happened quite often.
Like to move.
Right? Like to move and, shut up and all kinds of other nonsense. Forward us those emails and we will call them out. We've done that in the past, and we'll continue to do it, because when they start doing stupid things, I like to use this all the time. I say, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. if they want to, act stupid and start making stupid comments like that to their citizens that they're supposed to be representing, telling them to move and all this other crap that we've seen in the past, then I'll call them out. I'm not afraid to. It's not right. They shouldn't talk to their constituents that way, and I'm not giving you free reign to go attack them either and call them names and cuss them out either. I'm not saying that. Be professional, be polite. Tell them what your opinion is and that kind of thing. But like I said, if they come back at you with nonsense, forward that to us. I'll read it right here on the podcast, and I will call them out by name, and I will call them probably a few names myself. And
we're going to call you, Jason, Dr. Accountability. How's that for you?
I've been called worse. No,
Dr. Thunder, Dr. Accountability.
But it's just the right thing to do. If they, like I said, they want to play stupid games, they'll win stupid prizes, and we'll come up with some hotkey for situations like that, and we'll just play some kind of sound effect. We'll just start having little segments like that. And we'll just have a little fun with it. Why not? We'll add that to our list of things to add to the podcast.
That's amazing. I love that idea.
But I think we've done it before, and we'll do it again because nonsense needs called out.
Yeah, the best emails of the week or the month. But Janet Amos, thank you for that. She is recommending that our people watch the last 2 episodes of Charles Cook. It's called the Charles Cook Podcast. Jason and I were on Charles Cook when he was, I guess he'd been started for a while when we were on there, but Charles Cook, he's turning out. He's from Morristown, and he's doing a podcast like Jason and I. He does it probably more often than us, and he's got a lot of cute equipment that I like. I don't know why I called it cute, but it's he's got some bumper music and some effects, and he's got like a guy that introduces him. It sounds like it's in an echo, and it's got the music. And Jason, we're gonna have to catch up.
I know. We keep saying we're going high tech and all this stuff, and then we drop the ball. We get busy and we do all this other stuff. Yeah. And Charles was actually he was watching our last week's podcast. I don't know if you noticed that, but he was.
Mr. Cook is a friend of ours. We love Mr. Cook. He tells it like it is, and man, is he constitutional. He knows the Constitution like I know the back of my hand, and he could teach us a lesson or two. Charles is well studied on the Constitution. I'd love to have him back on our podcast soon and kind of pick his brain on some other constitutional things that are going on that we need to be aware of. But if you've not caught, and we're not getting paid for this, so for those of you who think we make all this money, that we're into commercials and we're making all this money, we're not making a dime. We just want to help our friend. Charles Cook Podcast, great patriot, amazing. Check him out on YouTube. He's also on Facebook, and I think he's on Rumble, and he's on like 5 or 6 platforms, right, Jason?
He's on several. I don't know what all. Some of them I've never even heard of. So, but he's on Spotify. I think he's on quite a few of them.
Yeah.
But Janet Amos, how dare you talk about that station on this podcast?
CNN, the Commie News Network.
But anyways, so check him out. I'm gonna move along because it's getting late. We done been at this almost an hour. We ain't even really got to our topics yet. I'm on my second can. We're in trouble. Real quick, I want to go some updates on the 911 board situation. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on that topic because we got some other topics we want to cover. But the 911 board situation is this. So, and I know some of you have seen all the back and forth again with the UNL Facebook and the sheriff's department Facebook and all this back and forth. Here's the bottom line, folks. And again, you take it for what it's worth. Like I say on almost every podcast, don't believe what I say. Get out there, investigate yourself. Get out there and check it out. Verify what I'm saying is true. And not saying that I'm lying to you, because I guarantee what I'm telling you is the truth. But I want you all to go out there and fact check me, okay? But here's the bottom line. I'm not necessarily picking sides of the UNL side, the sheriff's department side. What side I pick is what is right for the citizens of Union County. The side I pick is for the safety of each and every person that lives in the county, visits Union County, everything else. The 911 board situation is a matter of life and death. That's what got me so involved in the situation. That's why I went to Nashville to fight for the citizens of Union County over the situation and met with Dennis Powers. That's why I've been so adamant about getting this fixed and the whole 9 yards. And all the just a short version of the background. 911 board said, oh, we don't have to give TCPR, telephone CPR instructions if a caller calls in having a emergency and, don't know how to give CPR themselves and needing some instructions. The 911 board said, we don't have to do it. We're not going to allow our dispatchers to do it anymore. Or even if they were at the time, which my understanding, some of them were, some of them weren't. You can take that for what it's worth. I've got the training records from before all this really started happening and after. So I can tell you, frankly, that before, not many of them were trained on a lot of things, let alone TCPR. Okay. So we move forward. 911 board said, we're not going to do this anymore. We're not going to allow the dispatchers to give these instructions anymore. We don't have to. Well, that kind of piqued my interest. So I started looking into it, and I pulled the law, and the law very specifically says that they have to. They don't have a choice. If a caller calls and needs those instructions, it doesn't say that they can think about it. Maybe they will, whatever. It says they shall. It says they have to. It doesn't matter what their personal opinion is. If that person needs the help, they have to give the people the help. The dispatchers do. And I want to clarify this too. I am not picking on any dispatcher. The dispatchers, for the most part, do great jobs, do great work long, hard hours, all those kinds of things. This is not a dispatcher issue. This is a 911 board issue. This is the administration issue, not the dispatchers. Because I know there was a lot of back and forth with the UNL and the sheriff's department, all those, which I don't understand why it was even on the sheriff's department's Facebook, because this was a 911 board issue. It's supposed to be a separate thing, even though the sheriff is the director of 911 board. But that's a whole nother story for a whole nother podcast. So the board said no more. The law says they have to. And so that started the whole ball rolling. Again, I went to Nashville, not trying to take any credit, anything like that, but I was trying to stand up and fight for the citizens of Union County like I always try to do, right, wrong, or indifferent. It's what I try to do. So I took it that far. Yes, I took it that far. Y'all down there at the 911 board want to be mad at somebody, be mad at me. I, frankly, don't give a damn. You can be mad at me for it. I got Dennis Powers involved. Several other people called, a lot of other folks, and all these things. So what did we find out? Well, we found out from the state that 911 was out of compliance. Verified. I still have the text message from the state saying they are out of compliance and that we are sending letters and everything that we can to get them back in compliance. Okay, fair enough. Y'all remember just 5 minutes after I got that message, I did a short little live and updated everybody. I'm as transparent as can be, folks. I got on here and I did a live and said exactly what I found out. And then what happened? Uh-oh. Some folks start getting trained real quick in a hurry, right? Yeah, boom, boom, boom. We start getting that training done. And so then what happened? We rolled up on the next county commission meeting. The mayor and several county commissioners asked a guy from the state to come on down, right? Price is right. Come on down. Here's your ticket to the nonsense of Union County. So what did he do? He was the attorney for the 911 board for the state. He'll have to forgive me because I done forgot his name. But anyways, he got up there and he was questioned by county commission, and the sheriff hurried up and ran up there several times and interrupted and gave his explanation on things and all this kind of stuff. So what did we find out? And I meant to have Stephanie pull this letter up, so I had it. So that's my fault. I did not. But he was questioned. He was questioned by county commission, and specific questions from Commissioner Jesse was, is Union County in compliance? He hawed. He didn't straight answer. He danced around. Sheriff ran up there. Yes, we're in compliance. We're in compliance. And he hawed around and he said, well, they're in compliance now. So the question asked, so they weren't in compliance before? No, they weren't. Well, when did they get in compliance? Oh, about a week ago from county commission meeting. Oh, great. So Commissioner Jesse said, well, will you supply and sign, will you put your name on a letter saying that Union County 911 is in compliance? And he hauled around, danced around a little bit, didn't really want to. He said, I will get with some people and I should be able to get that to you by the end of the week. Great. I'm going to read that letter to you here in a second. We're going to point out a few things about that letter because I know the behind the scenes of that letter. Also, I want to point out that the first county commission meeting, this was supposed to be brought up, that the sheriff supplied, or at least his name is on the letter, the sheriff supplied county commissioners a letter that said they were in compliance. Specifically said, we are in compliance. We're doing what we're supposed to do. Oh, so we fast forward to the last county commission meeting where, Mr. Attorney for the state 911 board says they weren't in compliance when that letter was wrote and handed to county commission. So somebody lied. I want to point that out. Somebody lied and they weren't in compliance because, we weren't in compliance till the week before. Okay. Well, then, like I said, Commissioner Jesse asked for this letter, and he also asked this question. He said, I can't remember his name. Do you remember his name, Stephanie? I don't remember his name. Mr. Attorney. We're just going to call him Mr. Attorney. I apologize. He sees this podcast. I apologize profusely. I don't remember your name. Anyways, Mr. Attorney guy, I can look it up, but I ain't going to spend that much time. Will you write this letter? And not only that, will you say now that they're in compliance? And like I said, he hawed. Well, then you say, how do you know they're in compliance? how do you know, Commissioner Jesse asked, how do you know that they're in compliance? They told me they were in compliance. Oh, so they told you that they were in compliance. The same ones that wrote the letter to county commission and said they were in compliance, but was lying. The same ones told you they were in compliance. So they were in compliance. You did nothing to verify their compliance. You didn't go up there and see their records, their training records. You didn't go take a little bit of effort. I'm not knocking the state. Maybe it's not their job, whatever. I don't know the who's in charge of verifying that somebody's in compliance. I don't know. You'd think somebody would be, other than taking their word that already lied to county commission that they were in compliance. But they didn't. They said they were in compliance, so they must be in compliance. I'm going to read this letter, okay? And then we're going to say a few things about that, and then I'm going to go prove that they're still not in compliance. But so the sheriff, on the Union County Sheriff's Department website or Facebook, posted the letter because he's bragging that they're in compliance, right? Benjamin Glover. Thank you, Miss Amos. That's the guy's name. That's the attorney that was for the state. I appreciate you so very much. This is addressed to Union County Mayor Bailey and Sheriff Breeding. And this letter says, thank you both for the good conversations regarding TCPR and for having me at the Union County Commission meeting on Monday, February the 26th, 2024. At that meeting, County Commissioner Jesse Jr. requested that we sent in something regarding TCPR and Union County ECD. And we hope that this email will be satisfactory. So it's not even a letter, it's just an email. So it doesn't have a signature on it, which I think is funny because it was specifically asked by Sidney Jesse, I want your signature on a letter saying such. But this is an email. Maybe it's just as good. We hope that this email is satisfactory based upon the material submitted by Union County staff and the discussions at the county commission meeting. So it wasn't even information supplied before. It was at the county commission meeting. It appears, keyword appears, that the Union, I hear you laughing, Stephanie. It appears that the Union County ECD is complying with the laws and rules regarding TCPR. The TECB looks forward to reviewing the TCPR report from Union County for calendar year 23. That is due April 1st, 2024. How convenient, April Fool's Day. Boy, ain't they going to be full. If there are any questions regarding this email or any of our discussions, please let us know. That's from Benjamin Glover. Thank you, Miss Amos, again for giving me that name. So, two things I want you to understand that are plain as day right here in this letter, right? Number one, it says, based upon the materials submitted by Union County and the discussion at the county commission meeting. So they didn't verify anything. They didn't do their due diligence like any normal folks would. They took them at their word. And we know their word isn't worth very much because, like I said, they supplied county commission with a letter, the previous county commission meeting, that said they were in compliance, and they knew they were lying because they weren't in compliance. And the big word is it appears that they are complying. It appears, not that they are complying, because if they were complying, it wouldn't say it appears they are complying. It would say they are complying, but they're not. or they weren't. So, what also happened? Well, the sheriff also posted, if you can see that, kind of, sort of, that some dispatchers got an award for doing TCPR with a child and all that kind of stuff, giving instructions. So my point's proven. It was a life-saving need to have our dispatchers give TCPR over the phone that saved a child's life, which in fact these two dispatchers got an award for. And great job, you dispatchers, Justin Nicely and Morgan Kreider. Thank you very much for being there, doing your job at the time that it was needed. The county thanks you. Again, proving my point that this was a much needed thing that needed to be done. The TCPR should have been done all along. Again, clarifying, that made a lot of sense. I have not picked on dispatchers in any of these 911 discussions. It was all about the 911 board and this decision not to do TCPR. Like I said, first responders, officers, dispatchers, all of those, EMS workers, everybody, firefighters, constables, do not get enough credit. They do not get thanked enough. So I'm not picking on them. This is all administrative. So what did we also find out? Well, as of March the 7th, this county commission meeting, this letter was, the letter doesn't have a date, but they say the last commission meeting, February 26th, where it appears that we are in compliance. As of March the 7th, when I got the training records, the current, most up to date, as of March the 7th, training records, they were still not in compliance. You say, well, how do you know? Well, I could see on the training records who got trained, when they got trained, and let me tell you, there's a bunch of them after these county commission meetings got trained. Conveniently. Conspiracy? No. Just coincidence. Anyways, why do I say they're still not in compliance? Well, as of, like I said, March the 7th, when I got these training records, all the full-time employees have been trained. Part-time employees, majority, had not. The law does not say your part-timers don't have to be trained on this TCPR. Actually, it said all dispatchers have to be trained on this TCPR. So they're non-compliant. As of, they may have gotten trained by now. I don't have the updated training records, but as of March the 7th, after Mr. Glover said it appeared that they were in compliance, they weren't in compliance. All the way up to March the 7th, they weren't in compliance, because everyone, even if it's just one that has not been trained, they are not in compliance until every single dispatcher is trained. They are not in compliance. So get in compliance, do what you're supposed to do it the right way, and it won't be an issue anymore. Plain and simple. That's the way I look at it.
Barbara asked, did they attend 40 hours?
I could go back and look at all those training records. I focused only on the TCPR stuff. So I didn't. Let me tell you, the way these training records are is a name, what they were trained on, and the date. and then it might go to the next name, and what they're not in order. They're not by, they're not grouped by names. So like one dispatcher doesn't have all their training. You have to actually go through each line by line and figure out who's trained. And it's complicated. So I only focused on the TCPR training. There's actually two. There's a TCPR training, and then there's a refresher TCPR training they've got to take. So they've got to take two just on TCPR, and they have to do this every year. It's not just a one time. So I specifically, in all transparency, I only went through and looked for the two TCPR trainings. I didn't look at all the rest. So I didn't look and see, oh, they didn't have 40 hours. I did not do that. I only looked for the TCPR and the refresher TCPR.
But they have to have those also to, in addition to the 40 hours, to be in compliance, correct?
Again, this issue with the 911 board only consisted of the TCPR. I'm not even arguing about the rest of it. This is the only thing I focused on. So they may not be in compliance, or they may be with the 40 hours, but if they aren't in compliance with the TCPR, I'm assuming, and you know what they say about assuming, but I'm assuming that they're probably not got all their 40 hours training either.
Well, we can update
because
everyone.
I would assume that the TCPR would be part of the 40 hours.
Well, we can update everyone on that on our next podcast, or break in and talk about it if we find out something different.
If somebody wants to volunteer to go through these training records, then maybe we can assign somebody that. I don't know that I have the specific time to, with working and everything, to actually, because like I said, it's going to be a lot of work because they're not in order. It's a name. It might be somebody else's name, might be somebody else's name, somebody else's name, and then it might go back to their name. So you have to go through all of these records, and it's just going to take, you would have to write a name and then go through the whole list and write down what they were trained in, and all that that kind of thing. So
okay, we got us a volunteer, Jason. Barbara England is us with that. And just for the sake of transparency, and I asked those questions just to make sure we're all on the same page of music, because my question is, as probably many of you, is what do they have to have individually in order to be in compliance, just to make sure we're comparing apples to apples and not apples to oranges. And that, I think we're all comfortable here with the truth. And if we find different, then we'll definitely talk about that on our next podcast.
Right. And like I said, I wanted to be transparent. I was only focused, again, I was only focused on the TCPR. I didn't want somebody to think, I'm just picking on somebody. I'm not.
Yeah, you're transparent, and we'll make sure that we have all that information. Miss Barbara England's help. Thank you, Barbara, for volunteering.
Leslie said she's going to do it too, so we'll have both of them do it, and we'll just make sure we don't miss nothing.
This investigative reporting stuff takes a lot of time, and we all have jobs and everything, so we need help. And if anybody can help us do other things, we're also needing your help so that we can get a lot more accomplished. Well, what are we talking about next, Jason?
What are we talking about next? Well, we want to talk about the food pantry next.
Sure. Oh, what all we got on the list?
Well, you want to talk something about TikTok.
Oh, yeah, I don't have much to say.
TikTok, you don't say. Oh, wait.
Yeah, I bring up TikTok because it's been kind of the chatter of today, trending, so to speak, about this legislation that could take TikTok down as a platform. And most adults, we adults, uh, we use it for different reasons other than what the kids are using it for. A lot of our kids are using it for selfies and dancing and all that. But as you know, it's a Chinese owned company, and there's been a great controversy about the CCP, which is the Communist Chinese Party, utilizing the data coming from TikTok from all of our accounts. Now, like me, you may wonder, well, what in the heck would the Chinese Communist Party want with my data? What in the heck am I doing? I'm just sharing recipes or putting up my grandkids' pictures or whatever. What harm is that? Well, Congressman Burchett, he has voiced his concern. He says basically that we're fighting communism or communist China, that they're trying to take the world over, and they're using TikTok as a way of spying on American citizens and then sharing that back with other companies and corporations and their government in order to know something about all of us. And that's his concern. And that's why he is supporting taking the platform completely down. And basically, there will be no more TikTok in the United States if this goes through the Congress. Now, I have some concerns myself, and you may have heard others mirror this. My only issue with this is if you take TikTok down, it would seem to me like you should also be taking some other platforms down that also share our information with third parties and probably communists and everybody else. And we know we're on some of them right now where, we know that sensitive data has been shared with the government about many of us, and is constantly being shared, especially if you're outspoken like Jason and I, and you're on a podcast. You can guarantee your bottom dollar they're going to be paying attention at some point to you. And I don't know if it should I just don't know how I feel about it. I think that if the government wants to know about you, they have other ways of finding out about you besides TikTok. Does that make sense? So if the Chinese government is trying to say learn about you, it seemed to me like they could also use other platforms. I'm not going to mention it because I don't want to get our video taken down, but they could use other wink wink platforms that we even use right now to find out about us and to use our data against us. So that's my thing. It's like, why are they just focusing? I know TikTok is owned by the communist Chinese. I get that. And other platforms, wink, wink, is owned by U.S. companies. But let's face it, some of these U.S. companies, wink, wink, are also in cahoots with world governments. So that's my take on this. I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. I'll kind of miss those recipes, but I'm not saying that we shouldn't do it necessarily for the sake of national security, but I'm not so sure that that's enough, if that makes sense. What say you, Jason?
Well, I heard this on it was Dan Bongino or maybe Bob before him. So yeah, I'm telling what radio station I listen to. So I heard this today actually. So TikTok in China is used for a whole different purpose than what it is in the United States. In China, TikTok is used for education. It's used specifically for classroom use, I think they said like to sell homes or real estate, things like that. Whereas and it might be done a little bit in the United States, but all the teenagers dancing and the half closed folks and all the things that TikTok is used for and the U.S. isn't allowed in China. So the theory, according to them on the radio today, was it's used to educate folks in China. It's used to dumb down folks in the United States, and it's a act of warfare, kind of, according to them on the radio today. That it's being used to make our intelligence level and all those other kinds of things go down in the United States, so China could rise and the United States could fall. And that's that working theory. You can take that for what it's worth. Other than that, I don't use TikTok very often. I don't get on it very often. I know several members of my family love TikTok. I get sent TikToks all the time, and it might, take me a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to even watch any of them that are even being sent to me. Just because I don't get on it very often. But I'm not saying negative about it. I'm not saying positive about it. I'm just saying what I heard on the radio today, and that's where I'll leave that one.
Well, I think that, listen, I don't know how often you're selling around on Facebook. There I went. But Zuckerbucks, some of the stuff I see on this platform, okay, to me is dumbing down America.
Right?
I have seen stuff and I have reported things that I just thought was terrible. I've seen animals abused. I've seen people threatening self-harm. I've reported these things and I get the same message back, is that it does not violate community standards. When you read the community standards, and I have, it says the very thing that I reported. So it's like, okay, y'all are not going to follow your own rules. And I think that a lot of the stuff, like I said, that we see, I see dancing on Facebook. I see people, teenagers with selfies on Facebook. Now, I realize, to be fair here and transparent, that there's not as many teenagers on Facebook. Facebook, let's face it, is old Fogieville. Okay.
You're saying it's becoming MySpace.
Well, I'm saying it's adult. It's more adult, middle age, and older that are using Facebook. If you look at the analytics of most pages, the crowd below, say, 29 is just a small part of the viewing audience. But the people that are on there, that are, say, 29 and below, well, let's just say, to be fair here, more impressionable, say below 25. Okay. 25 and below is probably in the teens in the percentages. So it's not that many, but there's allegedly, millions of people on Facebook. So that does compile a segment of that age group. So those ages can also be affected by the negative things they see on this platform. So I don't know. I guess TikTok does have probably a lot more teenagers, and they're right that Chinese government is probably trying to use their algorithm to make the content depressing or self gratifying, whatever they're trying to do to program our children into thinking certain things and ideologies and brainwashing and whatever else they're trying to do to our young people.
Yep.
I will say this: it doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect me.
It's only $20.
I use TikTok. I admit it, Janet. I use TikTok for business. I'm one of those people that uses it for my real estate. And I'm not in real estate, but I mean my inventory, because I work with marketing other companies, and I use it to do these cute little videos that basically are just basically there to get people to pay attention and to buy said products and services. And so I do use it for business, but I've used it more since I had to drop one of my video editing software that was costing me an entire $69.95 a month when the economy went south and I could no longer really afford that. So I've been cheating and using TikTok's video so I can make little videos for my clients. I admit it. I admit it. I come clean.
Shame on you. All right, we ready to move forward with the
Yeah.
food pantry.
Is that the only other subject? I thought we had one other little tiny one. We got any
I
tiny
don't
ones?
remember. Did you have something there?
Hmm.
You said something about school choice. Did you want to touch that? And you said something about the jail fire.
Okay, we're probably not going to talk about the jail fire because we don't know enough detail. But let's talk a little bit, just a minute, about school choice, and then we'll get to the big story of the evening, which is our food pantry story. So, Jason and I and the crew went down to Nashville a couple of weeks ago, and I don't think we've had a podcast since, have we, Jason?
A couple of weeks ago. It was last week.
Or last week, I'm sorry. It's all
last Wednesday.
It's that freaking TikTok, okay?
Right in your brain.
So anyway, I have, my thing is I talk to a lot of people about school choice, or we'll call it educational freedom. School choice is the name of the bill, as proposed by Governor Lee. And there's three versions of this bill. The Senate has their version, the House has their version, and then Governor Lee has his version. Now, we have seen the language in all three of those. No matter which side of the subject you're on, if you're a proponent or an opponent of it for different reason, that's all fine. I know that it's caused a lot of division between conservatives. I have seen conservatives really coming at each other over the school choice legislation, and that's unfortunate, but that's just part of the process that we go through when we have legislation that not everybody is going to agree to, because the problem that the opponents have is that they're fearful. They don't want anything to do with government coming up with resolve on freedom. They don't trust the government. They feel that there's going to be strings attached, or there's going to be things happening down the road that we're going to have to battle again, and that you're swapping the devil for a witch. Well, we get all that. We understand all that. My issue, and you tell me what you think, Jason. I want to hear from our audience out there. This is supposed to be using the educational freedom and school choice. It's supposed to be using existing tax dollars, basically our tax dollars. Okay. Your tax dollars, Jason, my tax dollars. Each parent pays in to the system, the current system, and they pay so much a year for their child to go to school. And basically the school choice would allow them to take that money, and instead of them being zoned, their child being zoned to a certain school, perhaps a failing school that they don't want to go to, they could take that money and use it at a school of their choice. It could be a private school, Christian school, pod school, just about any school they want to go to. It could even be, a public school in one of the bills. Okay. That's all got to be fleshed out. But anyway, they would have a choice. So if they were in a failing district where their high school was an F, little Johnny's supposed to go to that high school, and they're getting F and nobody can read and write, well, they'll have their money in their educational fund to send Johnny across to another little town or not town, but another little part of the city or whatever county to go to another school that is doing well. Now, the people that do not like this legislation, the only thing that I guess my question to them is if you don't like the legislation, why is it that we can't fight to have the tax dollars freed up? If that makes sense. So if we know that our schools are failing anyway, and we want to have the ability to choose, why do we have to pay in anything? Why do we have to pay into a system that we're not using? And that's a whole different bill, I'm sure. Or I don't even know if you could do that, but it's a question of why are we just not allowing, or why are we allowing the government to keep our money if we're not going to use the school system? Does that make sense, Jason?
Yeah. Again, it's about the whole thing. The grand scheme of thing is about choice and the parent's choice and what's best for the child. That's the way I look at it. You can look at it from many other viewpoints. You could argue both ways all you want to. But the bottom line is you got three different versions. The House version passed the House committee last Wednesday. The Senate version passed the Senate version last Wednesday. And so now they've got to hammer out the details to make a version pass the entire body. And so that's a process. And we'll have to see what actually comes out of that, because there's going to be some give and take. There's going to be some changes and all those things. I will say the Senate version is a whole lot simpler. It's more simplistic. It's more narrowed down than the House version. The House version has a whole lot of extra stuff in it. So, but I've seen comments, well, this is just for the rich people to get rich. And I've seen the comments about, the poor kids are going to get into these private schools and just ruin the private schools. I've seen all kinds of nonsense. That's not what it's about. Like you said, it's about giving an opportunity to a child that's not succeeding in one environment in a specific kind of school or type or what have you. It could just be that public school, and giving them the opportunity that they might need in a different environment. Maybe a different public school, maybe a private school, maybe a pod school, maybe whatever version of school that it might be. That's where the focus should be. It should be, how is this going to be better? Then you get like you said, the argument, well, it's taking my tax money and it's going to raise taxes. It's going to do this. That's all not true. It's all already money in the budget for education. It's already there. It's not an extra tax. It's not going to raise your tax. None of that stuff. The best of my understanding anyway. Like I said, final version's not out. We don't know what it's going to say yet. My whole stance the whole time is I don't want strings attached. I don't want the government to put itself even more into education. I want the option to be there for a child to have, and the parent to have the choice. That's why it's called school choice, of where to educate their child. That's it. That's all I want the government to have their hands in. And you start regulating private schools. You try to regulate homeschools. then I'll be having a different conversation. But that's not happened as of yet, and hopefully it doesn't. And the teachers unions hate it because, oh, it's going to hurt the public schools. It's going to take money from the classes in the public schools. It's going to hurt them, blah, blah, blah. There's nothing wrong with friendly competition. And if you're worried about your school losing a bunch of kids, then maybe you should be educating your kids a whole lot better than you are if you've got that worry. And it's a small number of students in the grand scheme of things, especially in the first year. It's 20,000 scholarships the first year, and it's capped at that. It won't go over that the first year, and that kind of thing. So you're talking about a small percentage of what might possibly happen. It's not even guaranteed to happen. You might only get 500 kids to take the option, or what have you. But let's get this straight too. Just because your child is no longer going to that public school is still getting money, our tax money, for that empty seat that your child is no longer in. I want to be clear on that too. And that's what a lot of the teachers unions and all this kind of stuff keep throwing this out, that the public schools is losing all that money. No, they are not. That's not how the law says, and that's not how it is. And that's any version out there right now. They're not taking all the money. So the public school, wherever, let's say little Johnny over here is now going to go to this private school. Well, that public school that you pulled him out of, even though his chair is now empty, is still getting money for that empty seat. Not getting the entire amount, but still getting some of that money. So that's not a fair argument. But again, the freedom, and I've told my story on here many times, the freedom of having the choice or the option to have the ability to take my child and put them in a different environment for a better education is the bottom line. And I don't see how that's a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, I have looked at this, on both sides, and I've interviewed homeschoolers. I've had great discussions from their position, and I do understand their concerns. I don't like big government. I don't like growing big government. That is something that everybody knows me knows I do not like. I don't think that we can tax our way or invest in government and ever make the people successful. And so I think that they do have good points and they have good concerns. We'll just have to see how the legislation comes out in the wash, and hopefully we can address those concerns once we know what we're working with. But until then, I know there is a lot of people that have these concerns, and the media, of course, is no friend to this. They have been blowing it up, trying to paint it as dark and dismal as they can, as they always do, and trying to divide people. And they've been successful at dividing even the conservatives. Conservatives at this time should not be fighting one another, but they are over this topic. This has become a very highly heated, controversial topic. And remember that on the local level, when it comes to people calling themselves conservatives, a lot of them are in the school system that call themselves conservative. A lot of them do not like their schools being defunded at all. They support anytime they need a new school. They think that the check should be written and the taxpayer should be put on the dole. They do not care. So as far as the teachers go and the administrators, and we have great teachers. I think most of our teachers are really good teachers. And they go into it with a good heart. But on the other side of that, there's always a but. We do have people that just really don't care, as far as they will lay it down to keep their job secure. Now, what they don't realize, or what they may be afraid of, is that if their jobs go away, they think they'll be without any work, or they'll think that there won't be any jobs. Well, this, according to the legislation and the people that have planned it, there should be more jobs for teachers. There should be more um, promotions for teachers in the private sector, and all types of pod schools would be opening up, and private schools, and over time this could be very advantageous to our teachers, especially our good teachers. But I think people are not creatures of change. We resist change, and we don't like someone coming along that tries to take what we've got going successful and throw it, change the goalpost on us and make us dance a little different. Nobody's comfortable with change. So I think that's kind of what we're facing right now in regards to the teachers.
And there's never been anything wrong with friendly competition.
That's right.
It makes you play your A game. It makes you get up there and do the best you can, and instead of just being so nonchalant and laid back on your approach to education.
I've talked to, and I have a lot of friends that are teachers. And for those of you who think that I'm anti-teacher, I'm pro-teacher. I love good teachers. My children had good teachers in public schools. I had good teachers in public schools. And I was lucky to have those teachers. If I didn't have a good teacher, I would complain to my mother at home, and there'd be a parent teacher or parent principal conference. But I only had trouble with one, but we finally got through that. And it was just because I was being a child. But I was a little sensitive.
You was being ugly, was you?
I was being a little sensitive. I was young, and but that's another story. But overall, I had good experiences, and our teachers deserve to have our support, no matter what path they go down. If they go down the public route, but listen, I've had teachers talk to me one-on-one, and they're like, Stephanie, you would not believe the times that I have had to do things I didn't want to do because I was told I had to do it that way. They wanted to break free like a butterfly out of a cocoon with their own ideas and their own ways of dealing with kids, but they were not allowed to, because they have to follow they have to follow the way that the school system tells them to do it, teach. They have to follow the rules, and sometimes the rules don't allow them to be creative as they would be in a different setting. So my heart is out for our teachers. I really want them to succeed just as much as anyone. So I think there's just a lot of, like I said, uncertainty, and we'll just have to see how this all comes down the pike.
Absolutely. It's a wait and see game at this point in time anyway.
Absolutely. So you want to get on our big hot topic tonight?
All right. I keep wanting to say farmers market. The food pantry. It's been a hot topic since the county commission meeting, especially on one of the pages, the We the People page. Commissioner Moore made a post over there and caused some ruckus over there and that kind of thing. Maybe said some things maybe he shouldn't have the way he said them, or what have you. That's all your opinion. You can make your own. However, I, as always, investigate everything that I'm going to talk about. I don't like to get on here and just run my mouth about things that I don't really know about. All y'all out there should know better than that right now. And I've got proof. This is just a little side note. I've got proof of this very fact because I went to the food pantry yesterday to see how things were with my own eyes, and I took some pictures, and we should have put some of those up, but we did. I didn't think about that either. And not only that, but like I said, it's just a little side note. The one and only Marty Smith actually showed up. She's going to do a story on it too, I suppose. And so I seen her, and I said, Marty, I said, you seen with your own eyes. I come out here and I actually do my own investigating and everything. So for all the folks out there that think that I don't, Marty saw me, okay?
I feel better already.
Right? You should. But so anyways, but another little side note, little joke that I made. I said, yeah, half the county doesn't like Marty very much, and half the county doesn't like us very much. I said, so now I'm here talking to you, Marty. I said, people have seen me talking to you now. And so now the entire county is just going to hate my guts. I thought that was funny, but y'all might not. Anyways, I thought it was funny. So anyway, moving on.
You need an ice cream.
I need an ice cream. They didn't give no ice cream out down there. They should have. I probably would got it all. Anyway, that was just a little funny note. I just trying to break up the monotony for a second, okay? It did happen though, just so we're clear. So I did go in. I talked to Kitty, who's over the food pantry there. I snooped around. I looked around. I took some pictures and all that kind of good stuff. I wanted to get a good understanding of how the food pantry worked, and the process and how much space they took up, and all those kinds of things. So I see. So we're clear. I see both sides of this problem. It shouldn't be a problem, but both sides. And those of you who don't know what we're talking about, well, Biden don't need to be coming up here in Union County anyway, Miss Ames. So just the backstory real quick. The food pantry has been offered a freezer cooler walk-in for free, $60,000. And it was voted on last county commission meeting to allow them to do that, being paid for by Second Harvest. And the only thing the county has to do is put a concrete pad to sit it on and have somebody wire the electricity, which the county maintenance department can do because they have a electrician. What have you? No biggie, right? Already passed, all that kind of stuff. However, Kenny Moore, which is in the 3rd district, which is where this food pantry is, has a problem with the food pantry. And from my understanding, not only the food pantry, but nonprofits, the county given county funds are our money, tax money, to these nonprofits. And from my understanding, he has a problem with all nonprofits, not just the food pantry. He has a problem with the animal shelter, the fire departments, everybody, all these groups that the county gives donations to every year, including, I guess it would include the 911 board, because they are a separate entity too. Maybe not. I didn't specifically ask that question, so that's just me saying. But all these nonprofits, he does not agree with giving donations to. Okay. He has his right to his opinion. He has whatever he feels and all this kind of stuff. So that's his position. Fair to have, according to him. So anyways, so that's the issue. He wants the food pantry out of the county-owned building. And in all fairness, all clear, the food pantry gets a in-kind donation. And what that means is they don't actually get They get $5,000. That's their donation. But instead of taking that money, they're using the building for the food pantry twice a month to give out to the citizens. And yes, they give out to a few families outside the county, what have you. I don't care who they give the food to. People need food. They need food. No problem there with me. Okay. So he has a problem with that. He doesn't want that in kind donation. He doesn't want any donation going to them. So that's where we're at. So I went and looked. So here's, like I said, what I discovered there is Kenny Moore actually runs the convenience center there. So he's there at the time, that the food pantry's going on, all that kind of stuff. I learned that Kenny Moore actually has a office inside the community center there where the food pantry is. I learned that the food pantry actually has those freezers and refrigerators lined up against the wall, like I said, or like they said during the county commission meeting. That's all true. Food pantry also has, I guess it used to be an office or some kind of closet, office size, not a huge room, but a decent size room that they store canned goods in. They also have the kitchen in the community center that is also full of canned goods. And they have so much in there that they actually got permission from Mayor Bailey or Mayor Lake. I don't know which. She said the mayor. I don't remember which mayor she said, because when the food pantry started in there, Larry Lay was the mayor. But either way, they allowed her to take the stove out of the kitchen, so she had more room for storage. So they feed several hundred twice a month. So they do a great service and those kinds of things. But they do take up a lot of room inside the building. So I did reach out to Mayor Bailey's office today to try to get numbers as far as how many times it's been attempted to be rented. And I had several questions for him, but he wasn't in today. And they told me they would get him to call me, and I've not heard from him as of yet. So I don't have those answers for you tonight. So, like I said, Kitty did allow me to look at anything I wanted to. She told me the ins and outs. She actually told me that Kenny Moore used to be a huge supporter of the food pantry. She told me that Kenny Moore used to come in and have lunch with them while they were there doing the food pantry, and have sandwiches or whatever they had available for lunch, and he would talk to them. And this is Kitty's side, right? Not necessarily his side, but this is Kitty's side. This is what she told me. And she said that when he decided that he was going to run for office, he actually told them, the food pantry, hey, I will be one of your biggest supporters, and I will we'll do what we got to do, and we'll make sure you're protected, and we won't get you out of this building, and blah, blah, blah. And I looked at her and I said, so he was being a good politician. And she laughed and she said, yeah, he's definitely being a politician and all that. As that relates to the food pantry being there in this situation, it probably doesn't. Or maybe it does. I don't know. But either way, there's a problem. I have a solution. Simple, common sense. Win-win for both sides, right? So the convenience center, with my talking to several people that are involved with solid waste, the convenience center's problem is when the food pantry is there, they take up a lot of space. They block the road. My understanding, the sheriff's department has been called several times to get people to move because people can't get into the convenience center. And when the big trucks come to empty the dumpsters or what have you, or the boxes or however you want to call it at the convenience center, they are having trouble getting in and out. So I see both sides, right? So this is me not picking a side. I see both sides. I understand where both are coming from. So instead of me picking a side, I am going to tonight offer a solution. So here's my solution. And this is going to take a give and take, a compromise from both sides. Number one, my biggest issue with the food pantry, and it's not that I have an issue with food pantry, but with the way things are, my biggest issue with the food pantry is the kitchen and their storage of canned goods and stuff in that kitchen, and the stove being gone. So if a family wants to have a reunion or a birthday party or what have you inside this community center, most folks are not going to rent it because you can't use the kitchen. It's now under lock and key with the food pantry. That's my issue. And that's, I believe, part of Kenny Moore. Not all, but part of Kenny Moore's issue. That the building can't be used because folks aren't going to rent it. And I've heard the argument that, well, it's next to the convenience center. It's got rats and all this kind of thing. I was there. Convenience center was clean for a convenience center. I didn't see any rats. I didn't see any of that kind of thing. So those arguments you could take for what they're worth. I was there. I did not see any of that. I was in the building. I didn't see any bugs on the inside of the building. Kitty did say at one point the food pantry was paying for the pest control and the maintenance. She's painted the ceilings with kills because there was a leak and several other things that the food pantry has taken it upon themselves to repair and what have you. And she said that she felt like because the amount of the donation isn't actually how much they would be paying in rent, and the utilities would be less than what the actual donation they receive is. So she felt like it was the right thing to do to make these repairs on her own. So I give her kudos for that. She didn't make us taxpayers pay for more repairs. I appreciate that. So here's my solution. Like I said, that's the only real issue I have with the food pantry being there. And not necessarily being there, but having full control of the kitchen. So here's my solution. And this should fix both sides, okay? We are going, and if they went by my solution, they would take the food pantry side, number one. Their compromise is I would ask them to move their food pantry day from Monday to Tuesday. And I'm not saying do this in a day. I'm saying give them 3, 4, 5 months to get the word out, and to allow the volunteers and all that kind of stuff to adjust their schedule and all that kind of thing. But to move the food pantry day from Monday to Tuesday, or move their hours from Monday morning, afternoon to Monday evening, one or the other. After the convenience center closes. And of course, on Tuesday, the convenience center's closed anyway, so it wouldn't be a traffic issue anymore. So that solves that part of the problem. Like I said, that's the food pantries part of what they have to give, okay? So here's what the county's going to have to give. Again, remember I said give and take. So the county's going to have to do something about allowing the food pantry to get the items out of the kitchen. So they have to have somewhere to store things. So the county's already agreed to pour a concrete pad out there for this freezer cooler. Well, and they already say, oh, that's not going to cost very much money, couple $100, whatever. Well, make that that concrete pad a little bit bigger. Build some kind of a lean-to or another little area that they can, store the items from the kitchen in that area so it could be secure. She could lock it, have a door on it, all those kinds of things to free up the kitchen. Well, then the county can go in and do what they've done in every other community center and remodel, because that building definitely needs to be remodeled. It's outdated. Like I said, there's not even a stove in the kitchen anymore. And do an upgrade and upkeep to that county building, a community center, and then and you start renting it again. The kitchen will be able to be used. Everything will be all pretty again. The pantry can still be there twice a month. All their things are out of the way. All those freezers, once that cooler gets put in, all those freezers will be out of there. Refrigerators will be out of there. That'll be more room. And so then there you go. Problem solved. It doesn't necessarily solve Kenny Moore's problem with not wanting to do the donations anyway, but it solves the issue with being a problem with traffic and the convenience center and taking it and not being able to rent the building and all these other issues. It takes all those off the table and clears up the problem. Yeah, it's going to take a little bit of money and all that kind of thing. But like I said, according to Kitty there, the donation doesn't even match what they would actually be paying if they were paying rent and stuff. So you just take a little bit of that donation, build her a little room, store stuff in there. We're good as gold, right? It's not an issue anymore. Just use some common sense there, folks, and fix the problem instead of making it a great, big, huge problem. Just solve it and be done with it. And you may not like my offer. Now, here's the other catch-22, right? Because I see some comments about Kenny Moore having the office in there. According to the folks I talked to at Solid Waste, and I was trying to get confirmation from Mayor Bailey. This was one of my questions that I didn't get answered. Was the Kenny Moore office inside the building? That has been there. My understanding, the office has been an office in there for Solid Waste or the convenience center since the convenience center was put there. Number one. Number two, according to who I talked to with Solid Waste, told me that they paid rent to use that office. And so that's another revenue stream for the county. Again, I didn't get to verify that with the mayor because he wasn't in today. But that was one of my other questions. And so if the county didn't want to build another storage area for the food pantry, then maybe they could build a little thing for Kenny Moore to be in. And then that items from the kitchen could be moved into the room where Kenny Moore is. But, again, that's give and take. And that's just, to me, that's a simple solution, back and forth. Now, to give you another option that somebody else is floating out there, that I don't agree with, and I let them know I don't agree with, was to move the food pantry to the farmer's market and to have that new cooler, $60,000 cooler, be moved to the farmer's market. Well, here's a couple issues I have, and I pointed this out to this person, and I'm not going to call any names, but number one, you would still have to build a building of some type to store the canned goods in that the food pantry has, and store it anyway. So you would have to do that. Number two, Union County High School is having classes over at the farmer's market. So you would be taking the opportunity for some of those classes to be had if you were going to have the food pantry there. So that's another issue. Number three, the farmer's market down there already has refrigerator, freezers, commercial units. So I don't know that they really want another walk-in cooler down there. And the biggest issue, I seriously doubt that the farmer's market board would allow it. And then I also got informed that, well, I already talked to Mr. Riddle, who's on the farmer's market board, and he said absolutely not. So you already got basically about the farmer's market. So again, my best, and I'm not the smartest person in the world. I just try to use my common sense a little bit to solve a problem. And the best solution I have, build a little storage unit onto the building with the cooler and allow them to put canned goods in there. And I understand like rice and stuff can't be in heat and air or whatever. Well, she's got the other office space that she's using, so she could move some out there. The things that the rice and stuff, whatever, could be in the climate controlled area. Move to Tuesday or later in the evening. Remodel, open the kitchen back up, start renting the building. No more traffic problems for solid waste. Everybody should be happy again. What say you, Stephanie? That was a long-winded conversation of my day at the food pantry yesterday.
Now, I love your solution. Like I shared with you earlier, I think it's basically a win-win. But of course, you're not going to make people happy if it's not their idea. And sometimes politicians don't like to admit they're wrong, or that they've, let me just say, over exaggerated when they shouldn't have. So hopefully that one will come around and he will see that this can be resolved, unless there's another reason that we don't know about. And there's always another reason when you're dealing with politicians. So we'll just have to see how this plays out. I don't mean to be skeptical, but it's a common sense approach. What you've premiered here tonight is a common sense type answer to a problem. This is how adults do it. This is how adults are supposed to work out problems and resolve them and do what's best for the county. So we'll just have to see. So I'm willing to give everybody a chance to see how this gets resolved and make sure there's no weeping and gnashing of teeth.
Right. And like I said, in full transparency, I see both sides. I see the issues that probably Kenny Moore sees. Maybe there's some other issues or personal reasons or what have you that I don't know about. But he has a legitimate complaint about certain things, and then on the flip side, I see the food pantry stance, and I know that they're serving a good, serving the people and feeding people, and the economy is going down the tubes, right? and that's why I'm drinking A&W instead of Dr. Pepper and RC Cola. But we all know that the economy is not doing good, so that food pantry is probably going to be feeding even more as we go along. So I'm not knocking the food pantry at all either, and I'm not knocking Kenny Moore at all. I see both sides, and instead of, like I said, fighting a bitter battle and he hates me and she hates me, and these are things that I heard, okay, while in my visit. These are things I've heard. He's a backstabber, she's this, she's that, he's that. Instead of getting in all that mess, and that's the same reason I don't get in these Facebook, where people get back and forth in the comments and all that kind of stuff. I don't get in that stuff either, because I just have a low tolerance of those kinds of things. And so instead of getting myself wrapped up in that kind of negativity, I'd rather just come up with a solution. And that's what I tried to do. Now let's see if those that actually can make that solution come to fruition, let's see if they pick up and run with it. And they can even come up with that it's their idea. I don't care. Just solve the problem.
Absolutely. And I know it's late and we're going to let everybody go here. I'm just going to close with this, is that this upset me the most because of the timing. And I don't have anything personally against any commissioner. What I stand for is I go against policies and bad decision making. I don't care about your personality. I could care less. I try to be respectful to people as much as I can. Sometimes people are not respectful to me, and I treat them better than they treat me. However, I had an issue with this action because of this economy and the way that this was done after a huge tax increase in this county, and then to suggest that you are now going to turn around and hit people in the service areas that they needed the worst, to me was just a slap in the citizens' faces. I just cannot understand why this suddenly became an issue, unless there was something we didn't see, that it was just not communicated well. And I want that to go on the record, that I hope that it's something else, and I hope that we misunderstood. But the way it was communicated, it was like he was saying in principle that, we shouldn't be giving what is not ours to give. And I agree with that principle. We've talked about that principle many times on the podcast. The old Davy Crockett thing. It's not yours to give. Okay. And it's also not yours to give when you start unfairly taxing your citizens. So I just saw some hypocrisy, and I had to bring it out because that bothered me to the core. And you know me, I'm a person of principle.
Well, and I want to be clear, this is not the only community center that has a food pantry that uses it. However, it's my understanding that this is the only food pantry that actually uses the community center in a lengthy fashion. Like, they actually store all this stuff there. Most of the food pantries, like Paulette, the Paulette building has a food pantry that comes there, but they show up maybe the night before, early morning of, and they unload a truck and get everything set up, and then they serve the people, and then they load whatever is left back up and they leave. Whereas in this situation, they actually store things there for a lengthy amount of time, and they do it twice a month. But these freezers and refrigerators keep things in there for several weeks at a time till they give it all out. The canned goods, I mean, like I said, I wish I would have posted the pictures so people could see. It's lots of canned goods, and they store it, and it's a good food pantry. They have a decent amount to serve a lot of people. I understand that, but they store it in the kitchen, and that's the biggest issue, like I said, that I see that would go negatively on why folks don't rent the building. And I understand the argument, like I said, with the convenience center being there too, but maybe to a few folks that would be an issue why they wouldn't rent it, but I don't think that is the issue why folks don't rent it. I think it's just because it's not really usable in all aspects
And
is why there's an issue.
with that convenience center, there's probably some cosmetic things that could be done for very little to
Well, that too. And in the commission meeting, if you remember, you were there, it was talked about, well, the smell is another problem why people don't want to rent that. And I want to be perfectly clear on both sides, right? And I'll stand up for the food pantry. I'll stand up for solid waste. I was there. I stood outside while I was waiting for Kitty to be able, because she was running there were people coming up and getting their food and whatever, and she was running a laptop. I stood outside for 15, 20 minutes, however long, I didn't time it. And I stood outside at the same time when I was talking to Marty. I actually had a phone call that I had to take, and I stepped outside. I never once smelled the trash from the convenience center. So when and maybe if it got hotter, in the middle of summer or something like that, maybe it's different. But as my time there, like I said, I didn't see bugs, I didn't see rats, I didn't smell anything, which were all things that were said during the county commission meeting that were reasons why people weren't renting this building. I did not witness that.
All right.
And side note, says Trump wins enough delegates to become the nominee. So there you go.
Yeah, they said that would probably happen tonight.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see what we got. Are we doing a podcast next week, or do we have something else going on?
I have to look at the calendar. It's in the house.
Okay. Well, we can just announce it. We may be on next week again. We are not going to be going on any trips, I don't think, in the next little while anyway. So we're probably going to go back more to a regular schedule. We will be announcing our next meeting. I don't know at this point if it'll be the last weekend or not weekend. I'm sorry, the last Tuesday. We always have these on Tuesday. If it'll be the last Tuesday of this month or if it'll be the first Tuesday of next month. So we'll just have to kind of send that out. If you're not on our email subscription list, send me a message and let me know to add you to our newsletter, because just in case Facebook or any of these other platforms go down, we need to be able to communicate with one another after, if that were to happen. So I need to get everybody's email. Have you got anything else tonight?
That's it. I think we went long enough.
Yeah, I think that's a record for us.
Oh, we've been on longer than this. We started late, remember?
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Well, anyway, I hope everybody has a good rest of your week. I've got a bit busy day tomorrow, and going to be doing a lot of talking with folks about education and all kinds of stuff the rest of the week. So hope everybody has a great evening, and we'll close this out, Jason.
All right, folks, remember to stay tuned and watch out for the next notification that we're going to be going live, whatever day that might be. We do appreciate you joining us tonight. And with that being said, remember to pray for me. I'll pray for you. God bless each and every one of you. And don't forget, we got St. Patrick's Day coming up soon. So get your green ready. Thank you and good night.
Good night, everybody.